up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the DC Cycling channel. We are back racing again. This is the Cat 4 Crit at the Pickle Juice race. This is named for the team that runs it. And a matter of fact, I believe the race promoter won her race despite sweating her ass off working the event all day. So kudos to her. Let's talk about the players in this race. We'll talk about the course. We'll talk about everything. So always around here, you want to keep eyes on those Kelly Juniors that are in the green and black and white. I had one teammate in the race, but he had sort of a bad day, so we didn't get to work together like I'd hoped. I knew a couple other guys in the race. Aaron from Evo, you'll see him in pink and blue and on a red Specialized, and then Frank from Meta. He's going to be on a purple Cannondale. He's got a luft of luxurious blonde hair coming out from under his helmet. And other than that, I didn't really know anyone here. You know, there were riders from all over the Mid-Atlantic region, and I made some new friends that day, so very cool, but I didn't know a lot of these folks, so kind of hard to trust wheels until you really get out there, start riding with them, and see what folks are like. So, I definitely wanted to win this race. Obviously, you saw the title, that didn't happen. And if you just came here to see me crash, well, feel free to fast forward to that. I won't begrudge you, but you know the deal. I wanted to stay near the front to avoid the slinky effect that's going to happen a lot in that technical section, and I never wanted to hit my brakes. And, additionally, I watched like every YouTube video of this course, so I would get a good idea of how to ride it before I ever even got there, and I do think that made a difference for me. I was signed up for 2 races back-to-back. First, I had the 35 plus, which was Cats 1 through 4, and then I had this Cat 4 race. And that was actually the first time I had ever done an age group race, and it was extremely hard. So I did like 10 to 15 laps of that race, and then I pulled the plug so that I could be fresh for this one. And here's another thing. This was, I think, the hottest day of the year so far. I mean, I knew that was coming, so over the last few weeks, I've been out riding during the hottest parts of the day to get acclimated for this. And, I'm a Floridian, so it's kind of, the heat's kind of in my blood. And I live in Washington, D.C., and it gets very, very hot in D.C. in the late spring and summer. So I think I was pretty well acclimated for it, but it was brutal. And especially being out here on the tarmac, actually on the race course, it was even hotter than it was in the shade, of course. And, I, like a lot of others, I used ice socks. Highly recommend. On one of these races, I had an ice sock down my back, and it was melted before we even got off the starting line. Okay, so about this race course. This is a fun, technical crit that I like to describe as interesting, if not a little sketchy sometimes. So we're coming up through the start-finish line right now, and the first turn that you're going to get on this course is a gentle left-hander, and that carries you through what is the highest point on the course, so it's all downhill from here. Up next is a 90-degree left-hand turn. It's a little wider, and at this point the course begins to tip downwards into a tighter and faster right-hander. So this right here is absolutely the most technical part of the course, and you want to be near the front. After that brings you to the fastest and sketchiest corner on the course, which is this left-hand turn where you really got to lean it over, and then that brings you down to the bottom of the course and another gentle left-hand, and that's all before you hit what is now a little 2 to 3% hill that's about 150 yards long. This stretch had a cross headwind from the left, and that made a big difference in this race. This was absolutely the hardest part of the course. It's where all the separation happened. It's where it got stretched out. It's where people were going to get dropped. And then last, there is another gentle left, and that's followed by a little bit of a tighter left-hand turn, sort of a chicane, and then that's going to bring you right back to the start-finish line, which itself is on sort of a false flat that heads right back up to the top of the course. One more thing about this course, the pavement was pretty good. You can tell this school district is well funded. There were a couple little like divots and small potholes in not the best places, but by and large, absolutely was a great course in terms of the pavement. But it is a school, and as such, you are gonna have these curbs that are on either side of the course pretty much throughout. And what that does is that makes it so there's really no blow-off valve when things get bunched up around the edges. There is no going off course for the majority of this. There's no way to go out if you get squeezed, and that is something that is going to have a big effect on me personally a little bit later in the race. Okay, let's talk about how I approached this race, maybe some of the things that I did, some of the things that I did wrong, and just generally how I approached it, and some of the lines that I took through the course, and all that sort of stuff. So right here, you're actually going to see me put in a little attack. Was I terribly committed to this? Not really. As you can see, it's just lap 4 of 25, and I'm still a little bit tired from the last race that I did, but I did want to test the legs out. I wanted to see who was going to follow me. I wanted to see how the pack was going to react. So here I go. That was into the headwind at the top of the hill when everybody should have been their most tired. So I leveled a little attack here. I look behind me, and we've got one of the Kelly Juniors in my draft here. So I elbowed him through, and he goes ahead, pulls through, and I offer him up the technical section to take the lead on. So as ever with these technical corners, the best line is the best line. Outside, inside, outside, you apex the corner. But if you were doing them in the pack, generally it was faster, I think, on the outside because it got a little bit less sketch. It was a little bit less crowded out there, and you'd hear people on their brakes, but you didn't really have to brake for these corners if you were solo. And for that reason, you'll actually see me a couple times in this race, if we show that footage, where I take the front just because I want to take that technical section and take the lines that I want, just to get a break from a little bit of the craziness of being in the pack. So right here we are caught, and I apologize that I don't have my rear camera. I did a big ride with some of my buddies the weekend before this out to Shenandoah. We got rained on pretty bad, and I didn't have the waterproof back on the camera, so that thing is fried. But I still have the footage from it. That will be another video that I will produce at a later date. And update, I just got a brand new Hero GoPro 9 Black. That's going to become my new front-facing camera. And this front-facing camera, which is the Session 2, which I love, that's going to be the rear-facing camera. So got some even more high-quality images coming your way in the next videos, to include the Hampton Crit that I expect to race this coming Saturday, should I get my bike back from the shop in time, God willing. Okay, let's skip ahead a little bit here, and what you're about to see is, if not the race-winning move, it's the move that ultimately leads to the race-winning move, and sad to say, your boy is not in it. And why is that? Well, maybe because right now I'm on the front for no reason. This guy was just going slow, and I felt like I wanted to get going, and just get the speed up so that I felt like attacks were going to come. But instead, I sort of let everybody out, and then the counterattacks came when I didn't have it to respond. You can see right now, my heart rate's at 189, 190, which is pretty high. I've got another like 15 beats per minute that can come. But I'm out of position when these three guys kind of attack into the technical section, which really was one of the best places that you could attack on this course. Again, if you were at the front, you could take the corners at speed. And I just didn't have it right now to respond to this, and those guys are going up the road. Now, I kind of felt like it was going to fill in, and that everybody else was going to bring it back. Ultimately, that is what happened, except they let one of those riders keep going up the road, and that is the guy who would inevitably win this race. So again, here we are on this fast portion of the course where it's got that cross headwind coming from the left. So as I wanted everybody to fill in, I stayed sort of tight to the right here, so that most people would have to pass me on my left, and I would be more or less in the draft. And that's exactly what happened. So all these people are going. Now I can see that there's still a much bigger gap here, and I'm gonna have to close that myself. But I'm filtering in with the pack here. I'm kind of at the back. We're halfway through the race. I feel like I'm okay. I can still see the front, and it looks like they're catching what I thought was the full break right there. But again, at this point, that last guy is continuing to go up the road, and I just don't know it. In fact, later on in this race, I asked someone else, hey, has somebody been up the road this entire time? And they tell me yes. So, that's one big flaw of mine, is I just didn't have the race awareness. And, communicating with others in the race, even if they're not on my team, is certainly something that I can work on going forward to make sure that I'm a better rider. I just have better race awareness. And, because I would have been willing to go to the front maybe, or attack and try to chase him down. But as far as I'm concerned at this moment, this thing is all stitched up back together, and I'm still in the race for the win. Okay, let's fast forward a bit to the last few laps of this race. Right now, I'm sitting on my buddy Frank's wheel here. He's on that purple Cannondale, like I told you earlier. He also races, I think he races Mazda Miatas, so that's kind of cool. I wonder what's more dangerous, car racing or bike racing. For me, it's bike racing. So I think it's important for you to see the lines that I decided that I was going to take in the last few laps of this course, having now been over this about 30 times or something by now. That guy really cut it close to that curb. He almost clipped his derailleur. So I'm on the outside going into this left-hander, which is what I preferred, so I could come in with speed here. And I try to stay tight to the outside, because again, the wind is coming from the left a little bit. So right now, I'm in the draft. And you can see I'm coming up with speed on all of these people tight on the right side, and I'm staying protected, and I'm doing not a lot of watts. And I know that some of these people on the outside are doing like 300, 400, 500 watts. So that is the line that I prefer to take. You can see I just gained a ton of positions coming through that corner. And I knew, for me, that was going to be the move that I was going to try to do on the very last lap of the race. And that's, in fact, exactly what I do. All right, we're going to fast forward yet again to the last 2 laps of the race, or, for me, what's going to be the last lap and a half. Just want to make sure we see everything that's going on as folks are fighting for position, knowing that we're going into the final. I mean, you can see we're dropping some watts in places on the course where we didn't really drop them before. Everybody wants to be near the front, but not on the front, and it's getting a little bit dicey, and folks are taking some risks. They're keeping it a little tighter. Okay, that's the bell. We're on the last lap, and I am just going to let you watch this and figure it out for yourself.
You fucking cocksucker.
Who did that?
Fuck! Fuck!
You okay?
I fucking hate you guys. Fuck! No! Oh.
Hey, are you okay?
No, I'm sorry. Fuck! You fucking... Ugh! I fucking paid... I just got this fucking bike.
Dude, I went between those.
Dude! Fuck! Oh, I just drove here from the beach! Oh my god.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Fuck, dude! I just fucking...
Miraculously, I went between these.
Went between these?
Between them. Holy shit. I know, that doesn't look good. Other than that, are you alright?
Okay, let's talk about this crash. So, as I said before, I'm going to make the same move that I made in this corner. I'm going to open the gap here a little, and then I'm going to try to take the outside line on the protected side to gain some positions, so that can be my launch pad to go off the front of this group and go for what I think is the win or second place. Now, this still looks good to me. It still looks good to me now. It still looks good to me now. Right now, it still looks good to me. Now it's getting tighter. Now he's turned into me. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe there's something happening on his left. There was a third rider involved. And I think maybe here we lock bars. I really don't know. But this is the result. And guys, I got lucky to go between those two bars instead of hitting them. You know, my bike hit, it broke my fork, but I ended up with some scratches on my leg, and that's it. And, you know, the other two guys, they were scratched up too, and, I'm sure their bikes were damaged. But this could have been a lot worse for all of us. So I consider myself fortunate. This is crit racing. You know, crashes happen. I will say one way this could have been avoided. If I didn't take the risk of taking the outside line to try to go for a good placing, I never would have been there, and this never would have happened, certainly. But that's the nature of bike racing. So I certainly hope that we all learn a lesson from this, and everybody heals up nicely, and I see everybody back out on the road soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.